The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. So, guys, we are back. It is everybody's favorite late night boxing program, True School Sports, or not True School Sports, but True School After Dark. And it's your host, Brennan Taylor, BT, here to talk to you guys about the latest and greatest in the boxing news, or the latest and not so greatest in the boxing news. Not every day is a bright day in boxing. Not every day is an exciting day in boxing. And really and truthfully, I feel like today is a bit of a slow day, but I still did find some things to talk about. So we're going to talk about all these things. We're going to give you guys, the great fans of the sport, the great hardcore blue collar fans of the sport, the people that are, you're probably getting off work, or you're wrapping up a hard day of work and get ready for the next day. So before you go to sleep, or before, you do whatever you got to do, we're gonna make it do what it do here on True School Sports and give you all that world-class boxing talk. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys definitely hit the like button if you're watching in the live right now. Hit the like button if you're watching the playback, and let's get this video out to as many people as possible, man. There's a lot to talk about. You got Lamont Roach. He's supposedly gonna fight Gabe Flores. You got Abbas Baraou. We're in the aftermath of his upset victory over Yoenis Tellez last night. He's potentially in line for fights with guys like Jaron Ennis, guys like Xander Zayas. Now we're hearing things about Jermell Charlo coming back and getting a title shot. So we're going to speak on that, amongst many other things going on in our sport. So make sure you guys definitely rock with your boy BT, and we shall have a lot of fun. Now, look, let me go to the comments, because there are a couple of people here making their presence known, and asking questions, delivering some comments. So before I get into my talking points, let me acknowledge these fine folks here. We got my main man, LA Lakers 17, Philippians 4:13. He says, BMF&T bringing out the boxing knowledge again tonight. Bro knows he is surgical when it comes to this boxing game. Stand up. Yeah, man. And this fight game, man, it's everything, and crazy enough, I was saying that I wanted to stay the rest of the year without traveling, and I haven't gone anywhere in 2 months. I've been living a pretty boring life, just very, very simple, straightforward life. But I'm not sure yet. Tuesday, there might not be a live on Tuesday, because I gotta do some traveling on Tuesday. We won't be where we're at now. We're gonna be traveling somewhere else. So stay tuned for that. More on that later in the week. But yeah, man, good to be here. TSF Harder in the building. BT, do you think Jermell at his best would be the best current 154 pounder? Good question. Would he be the best? Let me see. It's a great question, because at his best, you got to remember, we haven't seen Jermell Charlo in such a long time. It's been like since the Canelo fight. We haven't seen him since the Canelo fight. So the last image I have in my head is of Jermell Charlo not looking so great, coming to survive, not fighting his best. So that's a hell of a question. I don't know how he would do in this current division. I think he would have beat Tellez. I think I would favor him against Abbas Baraou, even though Abbas Baraou is good. I actually would favor him against Bakaram. I think he'll beat Bakaram. The two where I'd really like, I don't know if he'd beat Virgil, and I don't know if he'd beat Fundura. But there's a couple guys in the weight class at his best. I'm talking about his best. I think he'd have a chance. But he was always the guy that had his flaws. He was able to go to certain places other fighters couldn't go to when he was at his best. But he's not at his best anymore. He's been living the good life. He's got a little content. He's on silk sheets now. So I don't think Mr. Keep Running Your Mouth is walking through that door anytime soon. Pac-Man says, what's up, BT? Hope you're having a good Sunday. God bless. God bless you too, man. Hope everybody had a good Sunday to recharge and get ready for the week ahead. Have you ever heard of Boots referred to as the next Bud Crawford? I have. I have heard that. I don't agree with that, because I feel like Terrence Crawford's a sharper fighter than him. I feel like Terrence Crawford's just better damn near everywhere on the board than Boots. Where Boots really, I think, has an advantage over a lot of fighters is his athleticism. I think he's very good, obviously, and I have seen him spar, and I've been following him for a long time. He's very, very good, but Terrence Crawford, he's not. There's only one Terrence Crawford, but Boots is very good. Hawker Mustang says, BT, salute to you, champ. And then we got my man, the Martin says, can you picture Jermell going back to 154 after 3 years away from the division. I can't see him going under 160, especially with Jermell at 160. So you know what? You guys asking a lot about Jermell Charlo. I was going to talk about Lamont Roach first and this whole Curmel Moton situation, and now apparently he's going to fight Gabe Flores. We'll say that for later on in the live. Let's get into the Jermell Charlo talk, because you guys want to hear about Jermell Charlo. You guys are asking me about Mr. Keep Running Your Mouth. So let's talk some Mr. Keep Running Your Mouth, because really and truthfully, man, Jermell Charlo, he's a PBC fighter, and he's definitely out here moving like a PBC fighter. He ain't really fighting. We don't really hear from him, but he keeps teasing us every now and then that he may come back. So let's talk about maybe some of the aftermath. I guess in a sense you could call this live the aftermath of Baraou beating Yoenis Tellez. So make sure you guys smash that like button. Talking point number 1 on the live. So here we go. So you guys see it right here. You guys see it. Dan Rayfield, he's tweeting this out. He says pretty much that Gilberto Mendoza and the fine folks of the WBA are saying that, look, when Terrence Crawford steps in the ring, as we expect, when he fights Canelo Alvarez, he's going to lose his status as the WBA champion at 154. He's not going to be recognized as the WBA champion anymore. That recognition. I'm over here making up words. Recognition. That recognition is going to go to Abbas Baraou, who beat Yoenis Tellez last night to become the WBA interim champion at 154. He's going to be elevated, and they're saying that his mandatory is going to be Jermell Charlo. But how could that be? How could Jermell Charlo become the mandatory if you got Jerron Ennis fighting Usima Lima in a final eliminator? Make it make sense, you know? The WBA, man, I gotta say, man, the WBA is always on some bullshit, because you just ordered an eliminator fight with Usima Lima and boots. That is supposed to be for that's supposed to be the determining factor of who is the mandatory. But you got Jermell Charlo, who's just gonna skip the line and get a title shot. So the only way I could see why he's getting a title shot after not fighting at 154 for I don't know how many years now. It's been like, what, 3 years? Couple years now. Is that maybe Jermell Charlo was the champion in recess, but I don't recall him being named the champion in recess. So maybe you guys, the fine boxing fans, the smart viewers of True School Sports, maybe you guys can tell me, was Jermell Charlo ever granted the status of being the WBA champion in recess? Because if that is the case, then that's how it could become. That's the only way I could think he could become mandatory, because I know in the bantamweight division, Seiya Tsutsumi was once the WBA bantamweight champion. He got a bad cut, so then they declared him the champion in recess, and then they made Antonio Vargas versus Daigo Higa for the interim title, and then the winner of that fight became the interim champion, and now Tsutsumi's fighting that opponent. He's fighting Vargas, who retained the title in a draw. So that's the only way I see Jermell Charlo getting a title shot at Abbas Baraou. If he's just getting it and he wasn't named the champion in recess, then it doesn't make any sense, and it's just another one of the long list of examples of a sanctioning body, of particularly the WBA, making up rules as they go and, you know, doing what they do. So, you know, let's dissect that matchup for a second. Like Jermell Charlo, Abbas Baraou, you know, what kind of fight would that be? I'll tell you guys this right now. Jermell Charlo at his best, I think I would favor to beat Abbas Baraou if it was the best version of him. But we're talking about a guy who just fought at 68 a couple years ago, hasn't fought at 154 in a couple years, and your first fight back is going to be against this guy who just stays right on top of you and throws all these heavy shots and doesn't get tired, and just a very, very crafty guy. Heavy hands too. I don't know, man. If that fight happens, Jermell Charlo might get ran out the ring. That's a terrible fight for Jermell Charlo. He needs to do like I know a common discussion this month in boxing has been about tune-ups. You know, we've been talking about Jerron Ennis getting tune-ups and this, that, and the third. Why can't he get a tune-up? This is a guy right here who needs a tune-up. If ever a guy existed in boxing that needs a tune-up fight, it would be Jermell Charlo. Because Abbas Baraou, you know, he won a title last night. He's going to gain confidence in that. I don't know if Charlo wants to make that his first fight back, but I mean, I guess if he's the mandatory challenger and this guy's the one with the belt, then so be it. You got to go to the smoke. So I don't know, man. I feel like, you know what? I don't think it's fair. I think Jermell should I think Jermell should do a tune-up, right? I think Boots, if Boots can beat Lima, I think, Boots beats Lima, right? Or even if Lima beats Boots, I think the winner of that fight should fight Jermell Charlo. And then the winner of Boots versus Lima should fight Jermell to determine who is the mandatory, and then they can do the fight. I feel like it's very unjust. It's very in poor taste to just give Jermell a title shot. He ain't fought in God knows how long at 154. So to me, it's bullshit. But that's just me. And plus, I don't think it would hurt Jaron Ennis and the Jaron Ennis brand right now if he got a fight against the former undisputed champion, the former kingpin of 154, Mr. Keep Running Your Mouth, Jermell Charlo. So I don't know, man. What do you guys think? I think it's a bad fight for Charlo right now. I think that's a terrible fight for Charlo because this ain't 2020. This ain't this ain't the Jermell Charlo that fought Jason Rosario. This is a guy that's made some money now. This is a guy that really is he's fought at 68. We don't even know if he can make the weight healthily and comfortably anymore. So I'm not really feeling that fight for him. I feel like, there's better ways to go about this. And if he's just getting a title shot off, then they're in the wrong. So anyway, let me see who we got here. We got my man Felipe. Shout out to Felipe. He says, I don't know if he wants that fight. Abbas has been very active. 3 fights this year. 3 fights. He's gonna stay right on top of you the whole fight, and he's not gonna stop at all. And there's gonna be a lot of heavy shots, and there's gonna be a lot of leather coming his way. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I was channel surfing, and I had no idea that the interim WBA is that. I had no idea that the interim WBA 54 fight. Nobody talked about it. I wish I would have known. I should have watched. Yeah, I was trying to get to it, but I couldn't get to my video about it because I just had other content I was doing. But I knew about it. It was a fight I was intrigued about because, I've been talking about Yoenis Tellez getting a shot at the belt if he won against Boots. And, I didn't really pay much attention to Abbas Baraou. But guess what? When I tuned in, Abbas Baraou made me have to pay attention. He made me pay attention because he was kicking this dude's ass and pillar to post. He couldn't miss. He couldn't miss to the body. He couldn't miss to the head. He couldn't miss around the guard. It was a really, really complete performance, Shout out to David Esther, longtime viewer. He says, BT, I think Madrigal has a case that he actually beat Virgil, but he's been quiet lately at the same time. But when I went back and watched it again, Madrimov made Virgil miss so much. Now, look, I'm not a big Madrimov fan. I could care less about Madrimov, if I'm being honest. I think you guys put too much stock into Madrimov. But to be fair, I haven't went back and watched the Madrimov fight. So I really don't know if he, after he scored it. But upon first viewing, I feel like Virgil won the fight pretty clearly. I don't think it was a hard fight to score. I thought it was pretty straightforward. So we'll see. Maybe I'll go back and I'll watch it. Charlo versus Boots. That's what I'm saying. That'd be a good fight. That's a fight where now, Boots is fighting someone with a name, someone who's achieved high levels of boxing, been on the big stage. I feel like that would be the better route to go. If you're gonna bring Jermell Charlo out of witness protection, out of the friendly confines of the Lions only compound to get active again, then that's the fight you go ahead and do. You don't do Jermell versus Abbas Baraou. He might get ran out the ring. Shout out to my boy Hyro. It says, you can't forget that he was the champion in recess. You always say the champion got to fight the mandatory and uphold the rules. He is the champion in recess. Well, thank you, Hyro. I was asking the chat if he was the champion in recess because I don't recall the WBA making him the champion in recess. I remember him fighting Canelo. I remember him fighting Canelo. I remember him disappearing for a good amount of time, but I don't remember them making him the champion in recess. So if they actually declared him the champion in recess at any point, then yes, then he is actually entitled to the fight, even if I don't like it, even if I think it's kind of corny. My man right here says, in your opinion, what justifies a tune-up? Moving up in weight, come back from injury? How long of a layoff deserves a tune-up? So look, I don't think tune-ups are just for guys with layoffs. I think people get it misconstrued. I think a tune-up can be for multiple purposes. Number one, a tune-up can be for if you're actually a champion and you've been taking tough fights. So like if you go and you fight if you go and you fight one of the top champions in your division, right, and you knock them out, when you have a good performance and you win, and then you follow that up maybe by fighting your mandatory challenger, then I feel like you are entitled to a tune-up fight, a voluntary fight, and you can do as you see fit, right? That's one scenario. The other scenario is if you're coming up off an injury. If you suffered a bad injury, to your shoulder, to one of your hands, if you got a surgery on anything, if you got a surgery on your hand, if you got a surgery on your shoulder, I feel like you may need a tune-up fight to test out your flexibility, to really be in the ring and feel real contact again. That justifies a tune-up. How long of a layoff does a tune-up deserve? I feel like if you've been out of the ring for, I don't know, man. Like, because look, I'm gonna tell you guys this, and I'm not trying to talk about this guy all the time, but I feel like he's ruined my perception of a lot of fighters. He's ruined my perception of a lot of fighters, and I'm gonna talk about my boy Angelo Leo, right? Because he didn't fight for almost 3 years. He didn't fight for like 2.5 years, right? And he came back his first fight. Granted, it wasn't against a great opponent, so you could say it was a tune-up. But he looked like he didn't miss a day in the gym. He looked sharp. So I feel like every fighter should be like that. But I know every fighter is not like that. I think if a fighter hasn't fought for 18 months or close to 18 months, if you haven't fought for a year and a half, you should get a tune-up fight. Because you need if you're someone who's been ranked, you need a win to get active and back in the rankings. So I feel like 18 months layoff. Hand injury, shoulder injury, big time injury, or if you're already a champion and you fought another top champion in the division and then followed it up immediately with a mandatory challenger type of fight, then you are entitled to a tune-up fight. You are entitled to a voluntary fight. So that's my opinion to answer your question. What about Abbas Baraou versus Andre Katsurakis? That'd be a good fight. They both kind of have similar styles, although I do think Abbas Baraou is he's more. I think he's craftier than Andre Katsurakis. Katsurakis fights a lot like Stanionis, so I would say, I would give Abbas Baraou a slight edge just because I think he's a little craftier. But man, you're talking about two bowling balls just fighting each other. I wouldn't mind it. I think that style wise, that fight would be a lot of fun. That's what I'm saying. And shout out to my boy Johnny. He says fighters need to just be in the gym and discipline. That's what I'm saying, Johnny. We know this. We know this because we know Angelo. Look, if you're a fighter, you got to be in that gym. Not like. Let me explain. Like, it's not even enough to just be in the gym, because anybody can be in the gym. I could be in the gym and not do shit. Anybody can be in the gym, but it's more so like, okay, if you're not fighting, if you're locked into a bad contract, if you're having promotional issues, if you're coming off an injury, I feel like every fighter should really and truthfully, they should be in the gym. They should be working on all the weaknesses. Like, I'm talking about working on the weaknesses to like there's no tomorrow. Because if you have a long layoff and you're not going to fight for a while, that is the time where you work on your weaknesses. You work on your weaknesses so that when you do fight, by the time it rolls around for you to fight and you get out of your bad contract or you finally get a fight, by the time you get your fight, those weaknesses should be, alleviated and they should be becoming strengths. That's how I feel about fighters. But that's just how that's what I've seen. That's what I've seen being around different fighters at different levels of boxing. I feel like, fighters should be constantly working, attentively working on amplifying the strengths and really like cleaning up all the weaknesses, because at that world-class level, everyone is good. Everyone knows how to fight. Everyone does something like at an elite level, and you got to know how to offset as many things as possible. So, yeah, I'll say that. Salute to you, champ. Good to see you. Pac-Man says, I think weight cutting is going to be the hardest thing for a Charlo return. He's coming off a huge layoff and was bulking up 2 weights higher than 154. I can see the weight affecting him. That's what I'm saying. So, is it really smart to go in there against this bowling ball who's going to be firing on all cylinders and for your first fight? I feel like, you know what? If I could just put my, manager / advisor's hat on, because guess what? It's on very tightly these days for other fighters. But if I can put my manager's advisor's hat on, I think Charlo should go to 160 and go get a tune up there. Go to 160, pick someone from the rankings, get a tune up, and see how you feel at 160. And then, okay, if you don't feel good at 160, if you feel sluggish, if you feel like your punches aren't hurting no one, then you hire a nutritionist and you figure out how you can get back down to 154. But if you have any ambitions to compete in the sport and be a factor in it, I feel like the move for Charlo is going to be, a fight at 160. I think. Felipe says Jermell needs a name like Tim Tszyu for a tune-up. That would be a good name. I thought that's a good fight. That fight makes sense. One guy's coming off of a bunch of beatings, right? The other guy's coming off of a long layoff. It's a crossroads fight. In a sense, if you think about it, Charlo versus Tim Tszyu could kind of be like a loser goes home type of fight, So I ain't mad at it. That's what I'm saying. Your biggest weakness and your biggest strength. You stay in the gym, okay? If you're a pressure fighter and you struggle with your jab, well then you got to go ahead and you got to improve your jab. If you're a boxer and you're not really knocking nothing out, you're not hurting no one, then you need to figure out how to get more leverage on your punches and turn them shits over properly. If you're someone that gets caught a lot and is susceptible to get the breaks beaten off of them by counter punchers, then you need to figure out why are fighters able to time you. And you need to be in that ring shadow boxing, working on your feints, changing your rhythms, doing things like that, getting ahead of the line. There's so many things. When it comes to that high-level world championship boxing, there's always something to be worked upon. The best fighters in the world, you guys can name them. I mean, you could say like Naoya Inoue, Jaron Ennis, Terrence Crawford, Canelo, Beterbiev, Bivol, Angelo Leo, Rafael Espinoza, Ken Shiro, Bam Rodriguez, whoever you want to name, whoever you think is great, there's always a weakness to be cleaned up, and there's always a strength to be improved upon. So I feel like tune-ups. I think tune-ups in boxing are necessary, but I feel like fighters try to abuse tune-ups and they use them when they don't need to. Like Jaron Ennis does not need a tune-up. And I'm not gonna try to make this a whole boot slide, but he doesn't need a tune-up right now. He's big as shit. We've seen how big he is. Like the dude is bigger than Canelo. Okay. He's big as shit. He just fought, how long ago was it? April, March. He fought earlier this year. He's sharp right now. He's always in the gym. His weight is good. He's finally got a higher weight class. The weight cut won't be as sharp. So he's misusing his tune-up. He is severely misusing his tune-up. But you know what? Eddie Hearn and the promoters can say that it's not really a tune-up because it's a WBA eliminator fight and the guy is like number 10 or 11. So they can justify it as not being a tune-up. But we, the boxing fans, know that it's a tune-up. So anyway, that's my little rant on tune-ups and things like that. Shout out to my man JD. He says the untouchable. Yes, sir. We here. True School After Dark. I'm glad that you guys are here with me. I was a little late. I'm moving a little slow today, but it's good to be here. Good to see you, champ. 160 versus Lara would be easy to make for the WBA belt. There you go. So you guys mentioned a couple matchups already that make a whole lot of sense with Charlo. You mentioned Tim Tszyu, which I like. I like that fight a lot. At 154. But if you're going to 160, I like the fight with you said what's his name, with Lara. I mean, Lara is the oldest champion in boxing. I'm getting sick of Lara. I'm tired of Lara having that belt. Lara ain't fighting nobody. He's not doing nothing with the belt. So I'll tell you this, man. If Charlo wants to get in my good graces, and I'm speaking for only me, man, he go in there, he knock out Lara. I'll be damn near Charlo fanboy because I'm tired of Lara. He's not doing nothing, and they giving him cream puff after cream puff after cream puff. He's getting tune-up. He's getting a whole lot of tune-ups. I'm gonna start calling him AutoZone. He's getting a whole lot of tune-ups. Arislandi, Pep Boys, Lara. Arislandi, AutoZone, Lara. Like, he's getting just fuck tons of tune-ups, and I'm tired of him getting tune-ups. But that's just me. Fighting Danny Garcia, who's not a middleweight. He's fighting, Zarafa, who was ruled mandatory. Zarafa's a nice guy. I like him, and he was waiting for his shot. But, that's still kind of like a tune-up. The division is bad. He needs to be in a big fight. Anyway, let me go back to your comments. So a couple more comments, and then I'm going to go to my next talking point. We got my man Raw Dog. He says Boots wants the dogs to clear each other out and slide in and pick the remains. Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, in this weight class, if he does that, he may miss out on his opportunities. He needs to go ahead and get after this Lima fight. He needs to fight someone like with a pulse, like. Focus on your fight. Lima's gonna come from Angola. We know it's the biggest rivalry in boxing. We know it's gonna be Philly versus Angola. But after that fight, you need to be looking at one of the champions. I don't give a damn which one it is. I don't care if it's Abbas Baraou. I don't care if it's Xander. I don't care if it's Fundora. Whoever you gotta fight. And if not one of them, then go do the Virgil fight. But like, I don't know, man. You know what? That's actually the perfect segue. That's the perfect segue to what I want to talk about because Abbas Baro, you know, it's his world, and we're all just living in it right now. He's the man of the hour in boxing. He had a great performance last night against Yoenis Tellez, and he's put him like he's taken himself from pretty much being unknown. Because I'll be honest with you, I hadn't watched him fight till last night. I never made a video about him. He was just one of those guys whose name I would always see in the rankings. Right? Hold on. I would always see his name in the rankings, right? So, you know, last night he made a big impression on me. He's gonna eventually, inevitably become the WBA champion once he's elevated, and he's put us up in line for some big fights, some massive fights against big names in the sport. You know, one of them is potentially Jaron Ennis. If Jaron Ennis can win the fight in boxing's biggest rivalry between Philly and Angola. If he can beat Usima Lima and Philadelphia can prevail over the boxing hotbed of Angola, then Boots will become the WBA mandatory challenger, and they can explore that fight. If not that fight, then you have Xander Zayas, who many of us know, you know, going back to screen share, as many of us know and as many of us saw last night, you know, Xander Zayas, he went and he made his presence felt. Here's Xander Zayas last night with Abbas Baro. And you can see Xander, you know, he's grinning cheek to cheek. I feel like that's a fight he's confident in. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sit here and call Abbas Baro a world beater because, you know, I didn't really think the highest of Yoenis Tellez. I thought Yoenis Tellez was always overrated. And I would see people in the boxing industry, in the boxing world, gassing up Yoenis Tellez. I mean, he fights a lot in Florida, so a lot of boxing people that I know in Florida would say, "Oh, BT Brendan, you gotta watch out for Yoenis Tellez." And I'm like, and I watched him fight one time, and I'm like, nah, he's a good little fighter, but he ain't anything crazy to watch out for. So I was proven right last night watching that fight. All my beliefs were confirmed to the highest degree in that fight. But as far as Xander versus Abbas Baro, I think it's a good fight. I feel like, you know, Abbas Baro is going to be right in his face the whole time. Abbas Baro is very crafty. He gets off the center line very well. He has good timing. He understands distance very well. If you're not careful, he can drop you, as you saw in the latter rounds. And that's another thing. His stamina is very good. For him to get a knockdown in, what was it, the 10th round, the last round of the fight, I mean, that right there will tell you, and that will show you that Abbas Baro does carry some punch power in the later rounds. So a lot of people were saying, like, because I was live last night reacting to the fight as it was happening. A lot of people were saying that, you know, he can't beat this guy or he can beat that guy. And truth be told, I don't think it really matters. I mean, he's out. He has enough attributes for me to believe that he's gonna be a tough out for anybody, right? And I do. Contrary to most people in boxing, I am high on Xander Zayas. You know, Xander, I don't feel like Xander Zayas is a 10 in any category, but I feel like he's very well-rounded. He's an 8 everywhere on the board. You know, he's got a very polished jab. He has a good sense of timing. He's got respectable pop. I still think he's growing, even though he's a champion. He's still growing. He's 22 years old. He's still growing. So he's not a finished product. And that's actually that should really be a scary thing for the 154 division, because if he's done all these things and he hasn't even, like, he's fought some good fighters. He's fought live competition that's come to win. And he hasn't even had a remotely close fight yet. He's been washing damn near everyone he's fought. You could say in the back half of the Jose Perez fight, the last guy he fought, you could say in the back half of that fight, maybe he did show a lack of stamina. He was doing a lot of holding. I will give you that. But for the most part, if we're just talking about on a performance basis in terms of, like, you know, are these fights close? They're not close fights. So I feel like Xander isn't actually getting enough credit for the consistent fighter he's been, because if you go and you look at the records of some of the guys on his resume, some of them, a lot of them are not big names, but a lot of those guys have went on to upset younger fighters or fighters around the same age as him and take their O's and do good things. So he's being good fighters, but I think Abbas Baro would actually be a step up in class for him, a slight step up in class. So it's interesting because, you know, Boots is going to become the mandatory, right, if he beats Lima. But then you have the WBA saying that Charlo is going to to get the shot as well. So you got one guy who's going to become mandatory, one guy who's a champion in recess, and then you got one guy who's a champion now in Xander. So I find this very interesting because I could see a scenario where, if Peter Khan, if Top Rank, the brain trust of Top Rank, if they decide to put up the money and make that investment and maybe even have to overpay to get Abbas Baraou to unify with Xander Zayas, I think they're actually in position to do it because now I'm not, don't quote me on this. I could be dead wrong, but Charlo was the champion in recess, so maybe that might give him a little bit more standing over Xander, but there's also a possibility that that's not true. And maybe because Xander Zayas is a champion and that would be a unification fight. If the people that run Xander Zayas' career put up the money to do that fight, this could actually be our next fight. You guys might not get Boots versus Abbas Baraou. You might not get Jermell Charlo versus Abbas Baraou. You might get Xander Zayas versus Abbas Baraou. And then you're talking about Xander Zayas, if he can win that fight, potentially being a unified champion at the age of 22. And then at that point, I'm gonna tell you like this right now, because Virgil Ortiz versus Xander has been a big topic of discussion, not just on this channel, but in all of boxing. If Xander picks off the WBA belt off of Abbas Baraou, I don't want to hear anything from Virgil. If Xander tells him to come fight him in the backyard of his mother's house, he needs to go fight him there, because at that point, Virgil will not have a leg to stand on. So he already barely has a leg to stand on, but he really, really won't have a leg to stand on if Xander gets 2 belts. So really, really intriguing things. I'm really fascinated by the 154 division right now from a managerial standpoint. Like I'm putting myself in the shoes of each of these guys as managers. Like, if you're Abbas Barou's manager, what's the best option? If you're Peter Khan managing Xander, what's the best option? If you're, Jerron Ennis and the fine folks there, what's the best option? There's a lot of moving chess pieces right now at 154, and Abbas Baraou now in the fold. He makes things more interesting to me. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. That's my thoughts on the whole, Abbas Baraou, Jerron Ennis, Xander Zayas triangle, I guess slash Jermell Charlo as well. But what do you guys think? We see we got my man we got I Am Mexico. He says, "What's up, BC? How are you today?" I'm doing good, man. I was a little sluggish today. This live almost didn't happen, but I was a professional, and I made sure. I said, what, nah, man. True Squad, the Dark must keep going. I'm gonna actually wind up doing some traveling here, Tuesday morning. I'm traveling somewhere Tuesday morning. You guys will find that out later in the week. So there'll be a live. We're doing this live tonight, a live tomorrow. There might not be a live on Tuesday. I'm not sure yet. Depends how the day goes. But if not Tuesday, then Wednesday. So yeah, just staying consistent, man. Just trying to give you guys good content and just talk about the sport of boxing. Haka Mustang says, "Do you put Jermell Charlo in the Hall of Fame if he retired today?" That's a great question. I've had that discussion many times with Sean Tatel, who actually is a Hall of Fame voter himself. I don't know, man. I feel like there's fighters that haven't gotten into the Hall of Fame yet that have better careers than Charlo. I feel like like Marlon Stallin's not in the Hall of Fame, and I thought he had a better career than Charlo. But Jermell Charlo was undisputed 154. So with him being undisputed at 154, that automatically makes him one of the best 154 pounders of all time. And he was a damn good one. He was at the peak of his powers a damn good 154 pounder. He was a very hard guy to beat. In baseball, right? Because in baseball, for the Hall of Fame, it's very, very hard to get into the Baseball Hall of Fame. They always say in baseball, because baseball is a numbers game. You got to have 500 home runs. You got to have 300 wins. You got to have certain, there's certain benchmark numbers you got to have to get into the Baseball Hall of Fame. So there's a lot of players in baseball that have achieved greatness. They've been great for a long time, have had, Hall of Fame caliber moments, but they may fall short of 500 home runs. They may have 400 home runs. They might have 493 home runs. They might have, 290 wins. And sometimes guys miss out on the Hall of Fame because they don't have those exact round figures. So they say in baseball, he's not in the Hall of Fame, but he's in the Hall of Very Good. And I feel like with Jermell Charlo, I feel like he's teetering between. I feel like he's in the Hall of Very Good. I don't know if I'd put him in the Hall of Fame, but he's in the Hall of Very Good. He says, nah, him and Xander are homies. Abbas Baraou and Xander are homies? I didn't know that. I did not know that. Can I still do 20 push-ups? Yes, easily. I did 20 push-ups before this live started because I was feeling lethargic. Easy. That's easy money. K Gunner says 154 is so stacked. I just hope these guys fight each other. I mean, yeah, they got to go ahead and get to the smoke. I'm hoping they can at some point, but you know, it's boxing, man. Everybody has their plan. But to be fair, Xander and Virgil and Boots haven't lost yet. No, they haven't. They haven't. You know, but I would like to see those guys start fighting each other. But you know, it's a business. So all these guys have their plans. They have their roadmaps, and you know, the fights will happen when they happen. You know, it's the sport of boxing. What about Errol Spence? Is he a Hall of Famer? We know Shinsuke Yamanaka isn't Hall of Fame, even though he was never a unified champion. I never said. When did I ever say that Yamanaka was in the Hall of Fame? You just assume that I put him in the Hall of Fame because you assume that that I'm biased for every Japanese fighter, and I think that every Japanese fighter should be in the fucking Hall of Fame, Hyro. No, Yamanaka is not a Hall of Famer, although he was on the pound list and he was a good fighter. Is Errol Spence a Hall of Famer? He'll probably get in, but if you ask me, no, he's not. I don't think Errol Spence is a Hall of Famer. There's a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame right now that I don't think are really Hall of Famers, but that's just me. I feel like I feel like the Hall of Fame should be reserved for the gold standard of fighters. And Errol Spence was great, but I don't think he's Hall of Famer. Did he do great things? Yes. Was he great for boxing in America as far as selling tickets? Of course. But he's not a Hall of Famer. How ironic. You are interested in the division you didn't care about in 2019. Now you don't care about 115. It doesn't matter what division I care or don't care about. I talk about all these weight classes no matter how I feel because this channel is not about my feelings. I mean, it is sometimes, but you know, I talk about everybody. Yeah, I'll say this: if Errol Spence gets in the Hall of Fame, then Jermell Charlo got to get in the Hall of Fame. I don't want to hear it. If Errol Spence gets in the Hall of Fame, they got to put Jermell Charlo in the Hall of Fame. But that's the problem with the Hall of Fame. I feel like, especially with a sport like boxing, sometimes guys get in the Hall of Fame for things that have nothing to do with boxing. You know, baseball guys get in the Hall of Fame specifically for numbers. Or if they don't get in the Hall of Fame, it's because they took steroids, and the Baseball Hall of Fame boys want to punish these guys because they feel they cheated the game. But like in the case of Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa and these kind of guys, yeah, they were on steroids, but they generated the MLB millions and millions of dollars and garnered the kind of attention that kept the sport alive at a time when it was really dying from a rating standpoint. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword. Boxing Hall of Fame is a difficult one. But anyway, guys, I digress. So I want to switch gears because I don't want to just talk about Jermell Charlo and 54. You know, I feel like I said what I needed to say about the guys at 54. I want to actually talk about this because I found this very, very intriguing because you have Floyd Mayweather, right? He promotes Curmel Moton, and he got on Instagram and he was calling out Lamont Roach to fight Curmel Moton, right? So there's that. But then now you have this rumor floating around that Lamont Roach is going to fight Gabriel Flores Jr. next on a PBC card towards the end of the year. Now, that doesn't come as a surprise to me. I know that may come as a surprise to a lot of you guys in the boxing world, but I've heard from multiple people in boxing that Gabe Flores is going to fight Lamont Roach. And I heard that, like, I heard it first like 10 days ago, and then I heard it again from somebody else like 3 days after I initially heard it the first time from another person. So I've been hearing about this. I don't talk about it because it's like wasn't my place to say anything. But now that it's out there, I can talk about it. And I don't like that fight. But you know, let's get into it. Let's give you guys some visual aid, and let's go to screen share. Make sure you guys smash that like button. It's your boy BT, Brendan Taylor, the untouchable True School Sports Empire, True School After Dark, everybody's favorite late night boxing program. Listen, man. So here we go. So Lamont Roach, he's a hot commodity in boxing right now. Like, this is a guy that, you know, a lot of people thought beat Tank, including myself. I thought he beat Tank easy too. It wasn't no hard fight to score. Like, Tank won at the most. If you want to be extra generous, Tank won at the most 4 rounds. He didn't do shit the whole fight. Nothing. That's my opinion. I don't think Tank really did anything in the damn fight. that was worth talking about. He lost pretty clearly, and PBC couldn't let him lose because they had this Jake Paul fight looming, right? And the industry couldn't let Tank lose because this is the fight with Paul that was going to generate, the most revenue. So, it's part and parcel of the game. I know how it goes. But here's what Mayweather said about this fight right here on the screen: Roach versus Moton. He said, and I quote, "Let's make this fight happen. Curmel Moton is ready. Lamont Roach, let's do it. Even if I had to put up the money." So there you go. Mayweather saying he'll put his own money up and make this fight happen between Lamont Roach and Curmel Moton. Now, as far as Curmel Moton is concerned, let's pull up his box rec, right? Because I'm not no stranger to Curmel Moton. I'm very familiar with Curmel Moton, actually. I've interviewed him before on this channel. I was there in Ohio back in 2022 at the Eastern Qualifiers in Cleveland when he fought Marcus Luther, and it was a great fight. Marcus Luther is a young rising fighter himself. He hasn't turned pro yet, but he will probably be on the USA Olympic team. But anyway, Curmel is 8-0 with 6 knockouts, and he really hasn't fought anybody remotely close to the Lamont Roach level. Like, best guy on his resume, I would say, from what I know, is his fight here against Anthony Cuba, who was an undefeated prospect, who gave him some really solid rounds, but, lost. That's probably the best guy he fought. And Anthony Cuba, all respect to him, he ain't nowhere close in the same solar system as Lamont Roach. So if Curmel, if somehow, if pigs were to fly and somehow this fight did happen, you're talking about Curmel Moton trying to climb Mount Everest, in his 9th pro fight, fighting Lamont Roach. I don't like the fight for him at all. He's only 19 years old. Yes, he's big. He's maturing. He's physically, he's maturing at a rapid rate. And he many people believe that he is one of boxing's next young stars. I like Curmel. I think he's got a lot of potential, but really and truthfully, I think he needs to take his time, because when you talk about Lamont Roach is operating at the peak of his powers right now. Lamont Roach is bigger than Curmel Moton. He's more physically mature than Curmel Moton. He's more experienced than Curmel Moton. And this is not, sparring them guys that you spar at Mayweather Gym. Like, I've seen Curmel spar at Mayweather Gym. I've seen him beat the brakes off of guys at Mayweather Gym. And then I've also seen Curmel spar high-level fighters as well. He's not ready for no damn Lamont Roach. I'm not telling you guys what I think. I'm telling y'all what I know. And I think this is a play for Mayweather to do what he's done all these years, being the marketing genius he is drum up some interest for his fighter, Curmel Moton. And look, he got what he wanted. He got true school sports. He got me talking about him on the home of boxing, because boxing's in a slow period and they ain't shit to talk about. So we gonna talk about Curmel Moton versus Lamont Roach. What do y'all think about that fight? Let me know in the chat. But yeah, I think right now it's just really premature, because Lamont Roach is, he's up here and Curmel is right here. But look, if Floyd ain't out here, if he's not like giving you guys the Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, pump fake, if he's not pump faking and he's being serious about making a fight, then go ahead. I listen, you know me. The theme on this channel is we love fighters who step up to the plate. And this would be considered stepping up to the plate to make a big fight happen. And whatever happens to Curmel Moton or happens to Lamont Roach is whatever happens. Now, if Curmel Moton loses, to me, if it were to happen, I see it as a no-lose situation for Curmel Moton, because if Curmel Moton loses to Lamont Roach, people are going to say he's 19 years old, and they'll give him credit for just stepping in the ring with a guy who's world champion, who just gave Tank a great fight and beat Tank in most people's eyes. Now, that's if he loses. Now, I'm going to tell you this. If he go in there, he beat Lamont Roach. If they were to fight and he were to beat Lamont Roach, you're talking about Curmel Moton all overnight becoming a superstar in boxing. I mean, he already has a lot of hype from social media and things like that. But I think, considering what Lamont Roach did in the Tank fight, if he comes and beats Lamont Roach right off the Tank fight in clear fashion, that puts Curmel Moton way up here. But see, now the caveat to that is going to be this. You go in there, you beat Lamont Roach. Well, let me think. No, it wouldn't be for a world title, because Lamont Roach is a champion at 130. I would presume and assume that this fight will be at 135, because Curmel has fought most of his career at 135, 140. So yeah, it would be a non-title fight. From a management standpoint, it don't make any sense for Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach's stock is at an all-time high. This kid beating him does nothing for him right now. And if he loses, it makes it will just kill Lamont Roach's value as a fighter. So it doesn't make any sense for him. I think it's just Mayweather doing what Mayweather does. Now, on the other hand, it's not just about Curmel Moton, guys. It's not just about Curmel, because supposedly, according to the fine folks at Brunch Boxing, shout out to them. And not just shout out to them, but shout out to the people that told me about this before Brunch Boxing even put this on Twitter, because I've been knowing about this through the grapevine. So if you guys are watching that told me this, shout out to you guys. You know who you are. But yeah, supposedly Lamont Roach Jr. is going to fight Gabriel Flores Jr. Now, is this a fight that I want to see? Not really. I'll keep it a spade with you guys. I'll keep it 100. Like, I've never been high on Gabe Flores. In fact, I vividly remember being at one of the gyms in South Florida back in 2020, and I was talking boxing with one of the coaches, and he was trying to tell me that Gabe Flores Jr. was underrated and this, that, and the third. And I only see Gabe Flores fight a couple times, and I'm like, nah, he ain't like that. He's not what you think he is. He's gonna get the brakes beaten off of him very, very soon. And soon enough, like literally, like the next time, like the next fight after that, he got the brakes beaten off of him by Venado Lopez. So I've never really been the highest on him, and he's had a lot of different fights in his career where I have reasons to not believe in the kid. Now, to his credit, he was a high-level amateur. He was someone that Top Rank at one point in time was pumping a lot of money into. He was supposed to be one of the, like what Abdullah Mason is now, and Emiliano and these kind of guys. He was supposed to be that back then. Like, he was supposed to ascend to become a guy that could fight at the world championship level and win at the world championship level. But Gabe Flores doesn't really have any punching power. He kind of is a bit robotic and not robotic, but he's very like how do I say it? Like predictable. Like he punches, or he throws the same punches over and over again. He becomes easy to time, right? So he hasn't really, from what I've seen, evolved. Now, I haven't really watched too many of his fights that he's done, because for those that know, for those that don't know, Gabe Flores has put up his own money, and he's promoted his own shows out there in Northern California. So I haven't seen a fight in a while. The last I heard of Gabe Flores at all was last year, when he gave a contract to my boy Daniel Bailey to fight him on his own promotion. Daniel Bailey signed the contract, and I read the contract, and for some reason it didn't happen. And then when so I don't know how the opponent on your own card signs for a fight on your show and the fight don't happen. Like how do you avoid and duck a fighter on your own show? I don't, because that's what it looked like to me. I don't know why. I don't know the whole story, so I won't. It is what it is. Anyway, Gabe Flores versus Lamont Roach. Let's talk about it. So Lamont Roach, we know he's coming out the tank fight. There's been talk about him fighting Shakur at 135 for the title, because the WBA is gonna take the title from Tank, or at least that's what's been put out there in the media. We'll see what they do, because the WBA be on some bullshit sometimes. But Lamont Roach versus Flores, I think, would be a really good fight for Lamont Roach. I mean, Gabe Flores is very one-dimensional as a fighter, and from what I've seen over the years, and from what I've seen even watching like some recent clips and highlights, I don't think he's really adapted his style. Can he box? Of course he can box. Does he have a good jab? Of course he has a good jab, but there's not really anything to set it up. He's not really punching like that. I feel like Lamont has a much deeper toolbox. He showed it, not just in the Tank fight, but in the Hector Luis Garcia fight, in the Rene Alvarado fight, and throughout the duration of his entire career. That's why he's become world champion, and Gabe Flores has not. But boxing is all about redemption, guys. And you never know. Sometimes a fighter could, be garbage his whole career, or underperform his whole career. And he might just have that one fight, that one night, that one moment of magic where the stars align, he gets the right guy at the right time, and he puts it all together. So look, man, maybe Gabe Flores has added some things to his game. And maybe he will have something for Lamont Roach. But conventional wisdom tells me that is not going to be the case, and Lamont Roach is going to win very, 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 very easy. And I will leave it at that. So what do you guys think? Are you guys excited? Because I've had people whose boxing opinions that I respect tell me that they think that Gabe Flores is going to beat Lamont Roach, and I'm like, nah. You guys heard me say it. I said very, very, very. There's nah. Some people just want to say things to say things. Anyway, let me see. I got a lot of comments. My boy Fix Electronics says, "True Square Dark, the untouchable empire." Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What weight is Moton at? Curmel is like he's he's not even ranked. That's my thing. Like he's not even ranked right now. He's hovering between 135, 140. He doesn't really have a set weight class, but he's growing very fast. So I feel like Curmel is probably going to be a 40-pounder before you know it. You know, it would be hilarious if Gabe Flores gets the Roach fight, wins, and goes on. But that's what I'm saying. Like every fighter who has underperformed can now look at Brian Norman Jr. as an example, because there was a point in time where I was talking about Brian. I wouldn't say I wasn't as bullish on Brian Norman Jr. not being anything in boxing as I am Gabe Flores, because I've seen Gabe Flores. I feel like Gabe Flores has been around longer. I feel like Gabe Flores didn't have the punching power. He doesn't have punching power to bail him out of fight. So he needs to he's one of those fighters, he needs to have everything go right for him. Like his stamina needs to be good. He needs to have his jab work. He needs to be accurate. He needs to make sure he's durable. He has to make the weight comfortably. Like he don't have a big margin for error, because from what we've seen in his career, he's not punching like that. His defense ain't the best. He needs things to click on all cylinders. So I just, especially right now, like the confidence Lamont Roach is going to have coming off of a fight against Tank and being champion and defending the world title on Pro Box against McCroy. Nah, man. Like you guys will not believe. I've had multiple people tell me in the last 2 or 3 days, "Yo, BT, Gabe Flores Jr. is going to beat Lamont Roach," and I'm like, at what? What is he going to beat him at? What is he going to beat him at? He's not beating him at no damn boxing. So sometimes you can look at a fight on paper, and it is exactly what it looks like. You know, it's a fight. Well, on paper, this fight actually looks closer than it actually is, because Lamont Roach doesn't have a pretty, he has a loss, he has some draws. The Tank fight isn't a win. So if we're going on paper, it's not the most straightforward fight on paper. But you know what I mean. If you watch both of them fight at all, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, somebody asked me in the chat, what about Venado Lopez against Roach? Because, and I'll go to screen share for this one. Make sure you guys smash the like button. One of you guys mentioned Venado Lopez, so I'm gonna address that here, right? Now, Venado went on Twitter today, and he came out and he said, "Look, Lamont Roach, if you're having a hard time getting a fight, I can be your dance partner at 130. And you know what? See, now we're talking. Now we're talking about a real fight here, because, Venado Lopez, he's been at that level. He's been a world champion. He's defended the belt multiples of times as a world champion. Unfortunately for him, he just ran into the best featherweight in the world and got put on his ass and got, sent to their hospital. So, there's no shame in losing to Angelo Leo, because a lot of these guys are going to lose to Angelo Leo. But I like that fight, because I feel like, you know what? Venado Lopez is a big fighter for featherweight. This would be an easier weight cut for him. And I'll tell you this, man, Venado Lopez is really punching like that, guys. He's really like heavy-handed. He's unorthodox. He's a fighter that I feel would be a hard puncher at 130 and 135. Because if you look at Venado Lopez's calves and the power he's able to generate, he really is a guy that punches he's punching as a 130 or 135 pounder when he fights at featherweight. So I would like this fight for him, and it'll be a chance at redemption for him. It'd be a chance for him to become a two-division champion, because right now at featherweight, I think it might be a little too hot for Venado right now. You got the guy he lost to already holding the IBF belt. You got Rafael Espinoza. You got a lot of guys up in the featherweight division that I'm not so sure he could beat right now. And even if he could, none of those fights would get him the notoriety or the respect, apart from the Angelo rematch, if they had a rematch, that this fight could get. Because this guy, Lamont Roach, just fought Tank. So, like I said, Lamont Roach's stock is at an all-time high. And I would like this fight, because one thing about Roach is a fighter that has great skills in the pocket. He's someone that really and truthfully, like he loves to fight in the trenches, right? And when you fight a guy like Venado Lopez and you're fighting him in the trenches, you're always putting yourself at risk, because this guy, he'll leap at you with an uppercut. He's got very good timing. If you dip your head down below, he'll hit you with an uppercut. He's got a lot of, people like to say that Venado Lopez is a bum or he's this and he's that. And I don't do that. I give him his just due as a fighter. Like he was a legitimate champion who defended his belt 3 times. And he really, I'm telling y'all, he's really punching like that. I was sitting next to the ring when he fought Angelo, and there was a couple times where he caught Angelo, and I was a little worried. But I could see a scenario where Venado maybe he gets really up to this fight. He hits Roach the wrong way, and he may shake up the whole boxing world. So if there was a fight, I would like to see of the available options, right? Because we know Roach is not fighting Shakur no matter what he no matter what Shakur and Roach tell us, that fight ain't happening. Gabe Flores, I know y'all don't want to see no damn Gabe Flores fight. I definitely don't want to see no damn Lamont Roach Gabe Flores fight. So if I could be the commissioner of boxing with the available options we presently have, based on who's called them out, based on who's available, based on rumors, these kind of things, I would like to see him fight Venado Lopez, because I think Venado Lopez at 130 would be a very dangerous proposition, not just for Roach, but for a lot of guys. Like if Venado moved up to 130 and he fought Raymond Ford, I think he gives Raymond Ford hell. I think he gives Sugar Nunez hell. I think he gives a lot of guys at 130 a whole lot of smoke and a whole lot of problems, because you got to put yourself in Venado's shoes, right? Like he was regarded by a lot of people as the #1 featherweight in the division before he got knocked out by Angelo Leo, and his pride got hurt. So much so to the point where he's running around in these interviews and he's saying things like, "Oh, Angelo didn't hit me that hard," and saying bullshit in these Spanish interviews, right? So his pride is hurt, and I'm sure he wants to show the world that he is still at that level. So I feel like whenever he does fight again in a big fight, you're gonna get a pissed off, motivated, fired up Venado Lopez. And if that could be at 130, a weight class where I feel like the weight cut will be more kind to him, he is going to be a very dangerous out for anybody at 130. So shit, give me that fight. I love that fight. Look. Shout out to my guy Mooney's Gamble. He says, why isn't anyone fighting Venado Lopez? He still reigns. Might be because he's higher risk and lower reward now, because as soon as Angelo beat Lopez, the narrative was he was never good. Well, that's how it goes in boxing, man. That's how it goes. People have short memories. They say he was never good. They say he had no defense. It was bound to happen. Listen, that fight was very personal to me because he fought my friend. He fought my boy Angelo, right? So we had a job to do, and we went ahead and we did it. He did it, But I don't take anything away from him. He's a fantastic fighter. Yeah, like he beat good fighters. He beat Warrington and he beat Rhea Abbey. He beat some good fighters. Like he's not a bad fighter. And I'm telling you, I think at 130, people like to go ahead and gas up the 130 division. I feel like you put him at 130 where he's gonna have a easier weight cut and he's punching like, oh my God, I'm telling you, if he hits one of these guys, like let's just say if he hit a guy like Sugar Nunez or anyone, it don't even matter who it is. If he's one of those guys, if he hits anybody the right way, they might go out. So, I'm all for him at 130, not just against Roach, but against anybody. Didn't Venado beat Gabe Flores? That's the guy that Gabe when Gabe Flores was getting all this promotional push from the powers that be at Top Rank and these kind of things. When he was getting that promotional push and he was looked at to be this star, so to speak, Venado Lopez was the unknown Mexican, and he ruined the party. He crashed the party, and he made his name off Gabe Flores. You know what I'm saying? So you listen. He's a flawed fighter, but you know what? Like Evander Holyfield told me many years ago. He said, "You got to fight the fight that works for you." So the way he fights works for him. 99% of fighters couldn't fight like Venado Lopez. So, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Will it get him hurt against more fundamentally sound fighters? Yes, but there's also a chance, and there is methods to madness, but there's also a chance that you might get clipped and done up badly. So, like I said, man, I think Venado is still a very good fighter, and I don't take nothing from him. I'm ready to see what he can do. I'm ready to see him go to 130 and cause some problems, because I feel like he would be a monster at 130. If you stay at featherweight, you're going to have some problems. But if you go to 130, I think it'd be all right. I think Ford might lose to him. Like I'm saying, Raymond Ford, is the sharper fighter. Conventional wisdom will tell you that Raymond Ford should beat a guy like Venado Lopez, but if he were to cruise or if he were to get hit the wrong way by a guy like Venado, you never know. Raymond, because the thing with Venado, he punches very hard, but it's not so much his power. It's the fact that it comes from such weird angles, and he's very athletic. So I could see it. I could see that. I would love to see that fight. That'd be a great fight because Raymond Ford doesn't fight like he doesn't fight to the best of his abilities unless you put someone dangerous as fuck in front of him. If he fights these guys like Nova and Orlando Gabo Gonzalez, he gonna box. He gonna move his hands a little bit. He gonna turn them, and it's not gonna make for a great outing. I would say if they fought, I would lean towards Ford in a decision, but I wouldn't mind seeing it. I would say it's like I'll say 55-45 in favor of Ford. He said, I just remember that Angelo Leo was promised a hometown fight and they got fucked over by Top Rank and they didn't even broadcast. Oh, I mean, you brought it up, not me, but yes, Bob Arum promised him on camera that he'd get a hometown fight. He won the title. He won the title over a year ago, and he had to go to Japan for his first defenses. So he still hasn't gotten his hometown fight. Maybe his next fight. I'm hoping and cross my fingers his next fight can be a hometown fight because he's definitely earned it, and I definitely would love to see him give the New Mexican fans another fight and bring big time boxing back to one of the hotbeds of boxing in America, New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico. My man Jerry says Ford would stop Lopez. I mean, shit. He probably. I don't think he would stop him. He said, "What are you talking about? Angelo won the title in his hometown. He should have fought again in his hometown. He was promised." I'm talking about Bob Arum. Bob Arum told him on camera. It's on the channel. But Bob Arum told him on camera. He said, "Hey, we'll try to do your next fight here in New Mexico." And not only did they not do it in Mexico, they did that shit in Japan, which I'm not complaining about because I got to go to Japan and again, which was cool. But like, they didn't do the fight in New Mexico. I'm only addressing what was said in the chat. Anyway. Couple other talking points, guys. We're about an hour in. Make sure you guys smash the like button. It's your boy BT, Brennan Taylor, the Untouchable, True School Sports Empire, True School After Dark. Let me see, man. What do we got next? We got so I wanted to talk about this because I don't know if y'all can see on the screen, as you guys can see on the screen. You got Andy Ruiz Jr. He's apparently he's back in the gym training, getting back to boxing and we haven't seen Andy Ruiz since last August when he fought Jermell Miller, and a lot of people, myself included, thought that he lost to Jermell Miller, and it's ever since he beat Joshua in their first fight. We've always been asking, like, will Andy Ruiz ever recapture the form from that fateful night on June 1st, 2019, and he has yet to come close to recapturing that form at all. Probably the best performance the best fight he's had since the first Joshua fight, I would say it'd probably be Luis Ortiz in 2022, but that's about it. He ain't really done much. So who do you guys think that Andy Ruiz should fight? Like, if he is serious, like, who do you want to see him fight? Maybe Moses Itawa. Maybe fight Moses Itawa. That'd be a big chance for him to really right the ship in his career. If not him, you got a guy like Jared Anderson, who I feel like promoters still believe in to a degree, and they're gonna look to make it a big fight. I don't know, man. Like, he's become an afterthought. Like, this is a guy, Andy Ruiz, who was who had a chance. Like, Ruiz had a chance for a moment in time to actually become the face of boxing because he was a Mexican Chicano heavyweight champion, and he pissed it away because he was enjoying the fruits of his labors way too damn much, and he lost Joshua in the rematch. But he's went from being a potential face of boxing to one of the afterthoughts in the heavyweight division. And it's sad because we all know Andy Ruiz can fight. See, a lot of these fighters, we question if they can fight at that level, do they have the toughness? Do they have the wherewithal? Do they got the skills to do anything at the top level? Well, Andy Ruiz, we don't got to worry about that because he's shown it. He not just against Joshua, but even when he fought Joseph Parker early in his career. So I don't know, man. I'm happy to see him in the gym. Far be it from me, the kid on the young man, who just has a YouTube channel to tell a guy like Andy Ruiz what he should or shouldn't do. But I don't know, man. I'm not really sure like what his value is or what fights he can get. Oh, you know what? I'll tell you guys this. What about Deontay Wilder? I feel like the Deontay Wilder fight would be very, very intriguing because, Deontay Wilder and him was supposed to be a big fight at one point. That was a fight that PBC was talking about at one point before they both started losing. And I think right now, they both have become afterthoughts of the division, former champions, and have become afterthoughts of the division at a more advanced age. I feel like if they were to make Andy Ruiz Deontay Wilder fight, that would probably be one of the biggest fights for both of them. But also, it would actually, believe it or not, be one of the biggest fights in the heavyweight division because of who they are. Not because of what they've done recently, but because of who they are. So I don't know, man. What do you guys think? What is Andy Ruiz's direction in the heavyweight division? Who do you think he should fight? And all that good stuff. Because I've been trying to figure this out ever since I seen this training clip. I've been trying to figure out, who on God's green earth should Andy Ruiz be fighting. Some of you guys are saying Baby Anderson. Okay, that was my thought at first. Jared Anderson, Charles Martin. Okay, my man says anyone at this point. Okay, Zhang. Ooh, that'd be a fun fight. I like that fight because we know Zhang can knock you out one punch, but Zhang got no stamina. So I ain't mad at that. That's a good fight. Andy Ruiz pissed off Mexican fans by taking the age rematch for granted. Very few Mexican fighters get an opportunity versus the biggest draw in boxing. That's what I'm saying. Well, he was supposed to be like he had a chance. If he would have went in there, if Andy Ruiz would have went in there against Joshua, and let's just say he would have got knocked out in a great fight or lost a close decision, he still could have. I still think he had a chance to actually become one of the faces of boxing. I really do, because when he knocked out Joshua, it wasn't just big here to the boxing community. It was big to the world because, the world that doesn't know shit about boxing, they think, okay, big 6'6", chiseled dude versus, short, fat guy, the big guy with muscle should win. So when Andy Ruiz, the fat guy, the fat guy knocked out the big Adonis, the big bodybuilder guy, to the world, to people that don't know shit, it was a big deal because it was like, damn. I saw people saying that they were gonna stop going to the gym because the fat guys are winning now. Like it was a big deal. There were people that I remember, people that I know in my real life that don't know shit about boxing were talking to me about Andy Ruiz. So he had a chance. He really had a chance, and I think he pissed it all away. He was enjoying the fruits of his labor too much. And in this sport, you gotta, boxing's a jealous woman. You gotta always be loyal to this sport and give it your all. If you remember back in those days, Manny Robles coming out saying Andy Ruiz wasn't even showing up for training. I mean, it's crazy. And like the Martin says, even Sylvester Stallone, when DAZN did the big documentary recapping the fight, like they had Sylvester Stallone, they had Rocky himself literally like narrating the documentary. So he was at a high level. So it's sad to see where he's at now in terms of like what he could have been to what he is now. But that's life. That's why in life, you gotta take advantage of your opportunities because you never know when and if you'll ever have them again. You should know about because I was one of the people who didn't know about. That's what I'm saying. Hyro, if I'm not mistaken, that was like around the time when you found this channel was that card, was that fight. Like, I'm pretty sure you probably found True School Sports. So if it was, in a sense, if it wasn't for Andy Ruiz, we probably wouldn't even know each other. So yeah, there's still a lot of interesting fights. I mean, Anthony Joshua is not at the top of the division anymore. So look, maybe Andy Ruiz against AJ. On paper they are 1-1, even though people make it seem like Andy Ruiz is done for. I mean, he's still beating Luis Ortiz since then. He has a good heavyweight win since then, and they are 1-1 on paper. So I think if they were to do a third fight, I feel like it could do good business. But I think AJ has better fights out there for him, more commercially viable fights out there for him. But it's an option. It's an option. Anthony Joshua still wants to become champion. City by the Bay says, I don't know if you saw my comments, and Anderson Wilder and Hunter all cracked on Baby Miller. I think a great fight would be Jermell Miller versus Richard Torres Jr. That's a good fight. Torres needs rounds. He needs to be in there with a guy who's an experienced, fighter in Miller, and I think Miller's the guy for the job. See, Miller for Torres, I feel like Miller is a safe opponent. Miller is not a big time puncher. He's a volume puncher. I think Torres could actually out volume Miller. Miller's at an older age now. I like that fight. I think that's a fight where Richard Torres Jr. can make a statement and really enhance his stock in the heavyweight division. That's a good fight. Andy Ruiz was a one-hit wonder. Unfortunately, I mean, he did beat Luis Ortiz, right? So which is a good win. But in the biggest fights on the biggest nights, yes, he's in fact a one-hit wonder. Unfortunately, David Esther says, "I know we're off subject at 154, but man, Jesus Ramos is on some bullshit. Mosley Jr. That's a Munguia caliber move." Yeah, it is. It actually is. But what you gonna do, man? What are we gonna do? I mean, Mosley Jr. That's equivalent to Jaime Munguia fighting Demetrius Ballard. So nigga, that what you will. 160 is a weak division. So if I'm looking at it from like a management standpoint, he's a big 154 pounder. Like there's no way in hell he's having an easy time making 154. So I feel like Ramos' best shot at a world title might be at 160, even though I do think he's one of the better 54 pounders out there. I want to see overtime at heavyweight. Nothing going on at cruiserweight. Yeah, like ever since Turkey got in the fold, he has fought literally nobody, I think, except Marius Briedis in the rematch. That's about it. Like his whole career is just literally Marius Briedis. He hasn't fought anybody but Marius Briedis. So I would like to see him fight anybody at the high level, so I can start talking about him fighting Marius Briedis. Even though it's a great win, like Marius Briedis is one of the best cruiserweights of all time, but like if you can't get the fights at cruiserweight because the promoters don't want him to fight or whatever the case may be, then go to heavyweight. He was talking about going to heavyweight for a while. Go up there and try your luck. He can't get a title shot, BT. You got Fundora getting 2 voluntaries back to back. Talking about Ramos. So if you can't get a title shot, then what's the point? Go up to 160. What are my thoughts on Indonesian boxing? I mean, I don't have an opinion on everything because I don't know things I don't know shit about. I don't talk about. So I don't know shit about Indonesian boxing. So maybe you could put me on game. Who are some of the hot young premier talents in Indonesian boxing that I should be looking out for? I don't know anything about boxing in Indonesia. I don't know, man. I don't know. So it's a great question. Manny Pacquiao versus Jin Sasaki. Who do you got? The fans are the winners. But shit, I don't know, man. If that Pacquiao shows up from the Barrios fight, I don't know, man. I'll tell you this though, Manny get cracked the wrong way, he going to sleep. That's not somebody you want to get hit by. Jin is really punching like that. Even Norman, you go back and watch the Norman fight. Even Norman had to take some steps back. Jin can punch. He can punch. He's got the kind of punch power that instantly will get your attention. So, funny enough, I guess since he lost, I'll tell you guys this. I was told by some people in Japan that if he would have beat Brian Norman Jr. and Manny would have beat Barrios, that they were actually already talking about that fight behind closed doors. Believe it or not, I was told that back in May when I was in Japan. So, as funny as it sounds, it was actually it was a fight that behind closed doors, at least in Japan, was being discussed. If Jin, obviously a lot had to happen. Jin had to beat Norman, he was the underdog, and Manny had to beat Barrios. But it's interesting. Do you know that Chris John, the one that fought and beat Marquez in Indonesia? Yes, I know Chris John. Chris John beat Marquez, yes. Very familiar. Let me see. I got 2 talking points. I got 2 more talking points, and then we'll just freestyle the rest of the live. But your boy BT, Brendan Taylor, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. Make sure you guys smash the like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and definitely go ahead and super chat if you're really enjoying the content and enjoying our efforts here on True School Sports to give you guys the latest and greatest in the fight game. So listen, man. This ain't really a talking point. This is more of a happy birthday. Happy birthday to James Toney because, listen, James Toney, he's part of the True School Sports lore. He is part of the True School Sports empire because, my intro for this channel is literally, James Toney in English and in Japanese saying, This is the untouchable true school sports. Let's go, baby. He says it in English and he says it in Japanese. So every day, whether I talk about James Toney or not, James Toney is on this channel every single day. So James Toney, one of the greatest fighters of all time, one of the greatest counterpunchers of all time. Some might even say the greatest counterpuncher of all time. There's not many fighters in boxing today like James Toney, because this guy, a lot of these fighters don't have his mentality. They don't. This guy will fight anybody, anywhere, any place, anytime. And God bless him for another year on earth, because this guy was in a lot of fights. We do know he's punch drunk, but when I met him last year, James Toney, he was in good spirits. He looked good, and I saw an interview he did where he addressed like being punch drunk or whatever, and he pretty much stated that, like, like, it comes with the game. Like, I'm happy, my life is good, I got a beautiful family. Like, there's nothing to be sad about. So yeah, happy birthday to James Toney, one of my favorite fighters of all time, and a guy that's part of the True School Sports empire, the untouchable True School Sports empire. So yeah, another year on the sun for James Toney. So yeah, man. And then, but my last talking point, but definitely not my worst, but this is a bit of an interesting story right here. You got Ike Ibeabuchi, man. One of the great heavyweights of the 90s, probably one of the great what-if stories, not just of the 1990s in boxing, but just in boxing history, because this is a guy that I think at his best, he would have been a problem for everyone. He would have been a problem for Riddick Bowe. He would have given Mike Tyson some serious problems. I mean, he was really a top fighter. If you just go and look at his box track, he knocked out undefeated Chris Bird. We know how good Chris Bird was. He also fought David Tua and beat David Tua in probably one of the most underrated and entertaining fights in the history of heavyweight boxing. Honestly, if you go and you watch, if you haven't watched that fight, if you guys like fights with a lot of punches and a lot of volume punching, that's one of the fights you want to go watch. So he went to prison for quite some time, because he wound up going to prison for like 26 years or 20 years or whatever it was. It was a long time, because of some sexual assault charges. Right now, he got out of prison recently, and he went ahead and he decided to go ahead and fight. So yes, as you guys can see, he just fought a couple days ago, and he came off of a 26-year layoff. So I don't want to hear about you fighters no more. All you fighters who cry and complain about not getting knockouts coming off of a 9-month layoff, I don't want to hear it, man. My boy Ike Ibeabuchi is in his 50s. He came off of 26-year layoff. He hasn't fought. Look, he hasn't fought since Bill Clinton was our president. When he fought in 1999, his last time, right? Our president here in the States was Bill Clinton the last time this man fought. And he came back, and he actually wound up stopping his opponent in 3 rounds. So this was a pay-per-view in Nigeria. I was told by people that bought this I saw on Twitter by people that bought this pay-per-view that, the pay-per-view wasn't even working properly, and it was lagging, and basically that it was $30. So, boxing's gonna do what boxing does. But yeah, he gets a 3rd round stoppage over Idris Afeni, who was 18-9-2 out there in Lagos, Nigeria. And he's not wasting time. Like, Ike Ibeabuchi, he's serious. He says, look, I'm here to make history. And he said right here in this clip that he's calling out Usyk. He want to fight Usyk. And he wants to go ahead and try to become the oldest heavyweight champion in boxing history. So what do you guys think? I mean, do I think he's going to fight Alexander Usyk? No. Do I think he should fight Alexander Usyk? Absolutely not. But hey, who am I to crush a man's dreams? What I will tell you, though, is at his best, Ike Ibeabuchi was a very, very serious problem. There's not many heavyweights from the 1990s that I thought could beat a prime Riddick Bowe, but this guy is one of them. This guy was the truth. So if you don't know about Ike Ibeabuchi, really, really good fighter. Really, really good fighter in his day. Just made some stupid mistakes. Made some very, very stupid mistakes in his life, and that's what it is. Got some sexual assault charges, and yeah. Oh my. Shout out to everybody here. He says, let me see. We got a lot of people here. He says, name me one black box from PBC that has headlined a card not named Tank or Spence versus Crawford. They need to get packed out the sport. They're holding boxing back. Like, see, with me, I know here on YouTube, people like to hate on PBC. Some people like to hate on Top Rank. Some people like to hate on Matchroom. Some people like to hate on Golden Boy. You know, everybody has their own favorite promoters. I'm gonna tell you guys not what I think. I'm gonna tell you what I know. Or not. I'll say this. I think all these promoters are bad. I think they all have their problems. PBC, Golden Boy, everyone, all of them. Like, Hong Kong boxer Rex Tizol has returned to pro today as he moved up to 23-0 and has not fought since 2017, since he fought Kohei Kono. Oh, shout out to him, man. Yeah, I remember you mentioned him a couple times, Rex Tizol. I still haven't even checked him out, but he fought Kohei Kono. Kohei Kono was a champion, so shout out to him. From Malaysia, hanging out with the best in the business, BT. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And listen, and you guys reached that part of the live. I've got to my talking points. We've spoken on Ike Ibeabuchi, right? A lot of, like, could Andre Ward handle Ike Ibeabuchi right now? I don't know, man. I mean, Ward stays in the gym. He's a little younger, so you probably favor Ward, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Probably, I would say yeah. You know what? They should do that one. Since Andre wants to do exhibition, he should do Ike Ibeabuchi. Do that one. Let's see if he can be Ike Ibeabuchi. Fight him. The Can Crusher Canelo would do bad things to James Toney. Listen, James Toney would beat the living dog shit out of Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez and make them call their mothers and their sisters and their families and say uncle. Yo, James Toney would beat the dog shit out of Canelo and Crawford easily. It wouldn't even be hard. He wouldn't even have to lift his pinky to beat both those guys. Especially Canelo. Oh my God, he would do disgusting things to Canelo. Like, you're talking about two counter punchers. He's not gonna out counter punch James Toney. Did I mention? Did I watch Aoi Yokoyama's? No, I still haven't watched it yet. I haven't watched it yet. I had some things I had to attend to today, so I didn't get a chance to watch it. But when I watch it, I will let you know, and I'll probably do a video about it. I heard, but what I can tell you is I heard that he didn't look so good. I heard he looked very pedestrian in that fight. So, we'll see. What was the most impressive comeback after a 4-year long layoff? I say Vitaly Klitschko versus Samuel Peter to win the WBC. Probably that. Either that or like Sugar Ray Leonard fighting Marvin Hagler and winning that fight. James Toney got bad decisions in his career in his favor. And I went back and I said his career. Yeah, Dave Tiberi. Dave Tiberi, he lost. I thought he lost to Dave Tiberi. Dave Tiberi was a guy that he was supposed to just go in there and have an easy fight with, and that was James Toney's Usima Lima fight, right? A guy that probably nobody wanted to see him fight at that time. Middling contender, not a big name, from Delaware, just kind of stays on top of you, high guard. Yeah, he lost that fight, and that fight was such a bad decision that they actually went to court. Like, they went to court. I think they went to Delaware or one of those states, and it actually went to court. And then the funny thing is, years later, like probably like recently, I'm gonna say like within the last like 3 or 4 years, James Toney actually admitted to Dave Tiberi to his face that he lost that fight. So yeah, every fighter has bad decisions in their careers. Ooh, Sora Tanaka versus Shoki Sakai. I think it's a bad idea since Sora might lose his knockout streak. That's a bad. Listen, Sora Tanaka, I don't even think he's not even ready for that level yet. Like, funny enough, I actually met Shoki Sakai. I met him because I was going around some of the gyms in Japan during my last week there, during the last trip, and I went to Yokohama Hikari Boxing Gym. That was the name of the gym. And he was there. And I'll tell you this, he's big. He's a big welterweight. I could see why Jin Tazaki didn't stop him. I could see why he goes the distance a lot in these fights, even when he loses. He's a big, strong welterweight, especially if we're going off of Japanese standards. Yeah, so I would hold off. If I was part of Team Sora Tanaka, I would hold off on that fight. I like Tony's style, but I don't feel he's an all-time great. I know he's indeed on this channel, though. LOL, I respect that. I'm gonna very vehemently disagree with you. How could James Toney not be an all-time great? Why would you say he's not an all-time great? I mean, he's got wins over multiples of Hall of Famers. I mean, if we just look at it, I mean, first of all, the guy had what? The guy had 90 pro fights. Hold on, let's go to screen share. The guy had 90 pro fights. So just off of activity alone, he's in a different class than most fighters of the last 30, 40 years. He had 90 pro fights. He had 77 plus 10 is 87 plus 3 is 90. So 90 pro fights, right? So if we just go and look at his career, right? Okay. We know Dave Tiberia. We know every fighter gets bad decisions. But look, he fought Michael Nunn. Michael Nunn is in the Hall of Fame. Michael Nunn was 36-0. Michael Nunn was running through everybody. Michael Nunn beat Frank Tate. Michael Nunn beat Sambu Kalambe. Michael Nunn beat a whole truckload of guys. James Toney knocked him. I believe James Toney was like a 15-1 underdog, knocked his ass out, right? So that's a great win there. You know, Reggie Johnson, that was close. Could have lost that fight, right? I had to draw Mike McCallum, right? Yeah, he had some bad decisions. I'm not gonna lie to you, but you know, he does on paper have win against Mike McCallum. So he has wins against Mike McCallum on paper. Michael Nunn on paper. He beat Iran Barkley, knocked him out. Iran Barkley was a damn good fighter. Beat him. Where's Jirov? I know he lost to Roy, lost to Griffin. Where's Jirov at? Jirov way up here somewhere. He beat Mike McCallum again. Where's Jirov? Jirov's like cruiserweight, so he beat Vasily Jirov, and the Jirov fight was like, yeah. Then he beat Jirov, and then he beat Holyfield. So I mean, he's all over the place. He had some fights he probably should have lost, and he had some fights he probably should have won. But skill for skill, he's one of the most skillful fighters of all time. I think he was an all-time great. All you have to know about James Toney is he did the shoulder roll even better than Floyd. That's where Floyd got it from. Who do you think Floyd was watching? James Toney is who a lot of casual fans think Terrence Crawford is. Everything they're expecting Bud to do, Canelo, he would have done to Canelo with ease. Oh my God, easily. Like it's not even remotely. I don't even have to think about it. Like there's certain fantasy fights. I don't even got to put any thought into who would win. That's one of them. That's definitely one of them. Why didn't you cover Maracas Cia versus Jeremiah Milton in South Florida? You clearly have a color. Blocked. You're blocked, Cairo. Blocked. Go out to block you. Who do I got? Bud or Canelo? Right now, I mean, it's not my official final prediction, but I would say Canelo by decision. I think Terrence Crawford, like, he's not gonna box a disciplined 12 rounds. Like, that's not what he's gonna do. It's not in his mental makeup. If he can do it, then fair play to him. But I just think that based on who he is and who he has proven to be, he's going to exchange with Canelo. I don't think he's gonna get knocked out, but I think it's gonna be a fight where he gets hit hard enough and it goes the distance, and Canelo will get a decision. None was outboxed Toney the whole fight, but Toney did good to come back and knock him out. That's what I'm saying, man. Like, it's a results-based business. You got to go ahead and win the fight in front of you. As long as you won, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if he was getting outboxed, you know? What do I think about Yo-Yo Hernandez and who should he fight next? Hopefully somebody with a pulse. Hopefully somebody with half a pulse, because I feel like he's getting a lot of favoritism from the WBA, and he hasn't really fought outside of maybe Kyrone Davis, which was a good fighter. But other than like Kyrone Davis, he ain't really fought anybody worth a damn. So I'm hoping at some point it's someone with the pulse that's actually at a high level in the middleweight division, because people are, in my opinion, if there's one fighter that boxing fans are doing a little bit too much for, is Yohan Elise Hernandez. He's not like that, in my opinion. He's good, but he ain't like that. Like he needs to fight someone like really like to show like, hey, I'm one of the top middleweights out there. Because really, his claim to fame is I sparred with Canelo and I'm from Cuba and all that blase. But look, 160, right? So let's look. Let's look. As far as realistic fights, now a lot of you guys, now I don't rate Lara highly. I think Arizona Lara is one of the most overrated fighters in all of championship boxing over the last decade by far. He's like in the top 5 most overrated. But a lot of people like to give Lara and say that Lara is this and Lara is that. I feel like Lara had one fight against Canelo where he got a lot of credit. A lot of people thought he won. But by the way, he didn't win. He didn't really win against Canelo. He literally did not even try to win in the back half of the fight. I went back and I watched it because I used to think that Lara beat Canelo, but he didn't beat Canelo. He did better than what was expected of him, but he didn't beat him. He literally gave the second half of the fight away. But he's living off that. He's living off of that mythological win over Canelo, and he hasn't really done a whole lot of that since a whole lot since that fight, if we're just being honest. So I would like to see Yoel Hernandez fight him and pack him up because that would give him at least some standing. Because even though I don't think a lot of Lara is on a different level by far to everyone Yoel Hernandez has fought. So him, if not him, I'd like to see him fight maybe like a guy like, Ian Green at some point in time. I think Ian Green would beat the brakes off Hernandez. If not him, then you could do Aaron McKenna, who's getting a lot of buzz because he sparred that he beat the guy that Boots is fighting, Usima Lima, and people are gassing him up. But to be honest, there's not a whole lot. Maybe a guy like Denzel Bentley. Bentley's a fighter who's probably one of the better fighters in the division. Gave Johnny Beck a good fight. So there's not a lot of options. But I'm holding my judgment on Hernandez. I feel like people are going crazy. Yeah, no. He's better than. Listen. I may not be high on him, but I'm fair. Like, he's better than Yoenis Tellez for sure. Like, Yoenis Tellez, I don't know. I watched Yoenis Tellez fight like 2 or 3 times before he fought what's his name? Abbas Baraou last night. I don't know how anyone could have looked at Yoenis Tellez and told me that he was gonna be all these things in boxing. Like, he's good, but like people jump the gun too quick. Like, man, boxing fans, they fall in love too fast with fighters sometimes. It pisses me off. Correct me if I'm wrong. But is the guy from the intro James Toney, the Japanese? Yes, that is James Toney, correct. And today is his birthday. So happy birthday to one of boxing's true legends. Tellez reminds me of Orestes Velasquez. Not even. I think before Orestes Velasquez actually lost to Julian Smith, I feel like Orestes Velasquez actually beat better fighters than Hernandez has beat. Like, Hernandez is getting the weight. I'm telling. Listen, I'm not trying to hate. I'm just telling y'all what I'm seeing and what I believe. I feel like he's getting way too much credit. I don't know why you guys are doing all this for Yoel Hernandez. He ain't fought no one yet except Kyron Davis, and a lot of you guys don't even think highly of him. How surprised will you be if Christian and Billy and Les Martinez is the fight of the night on the Canelo undercard? I will not be surprised at all. In fact, that is my full expectation because I don't think Canelo versus Crawford will be as good as that fight. So that's my. If it's not the fight of the night on Canelo Crawford, I'll be disappointed. Well, Tellez has done some good things. He knocked out Johan Bassett quicker than Ramos and stopped the guy that went for Dura. He stopped Sergio Garcia. Yeah, those are good wins. But I watched him. And I was just like, eh. Because you got like when I'm watching Yoenis Tellez, I'm thinking about him fighting Virgil and Boachuk and them guys at the top. So I'm not looking so much at the guys that he's fighting in front of him. Although those were good wins for where he was at, I'm looking at the skills I'm seeing, the tendencies I'm seeing, and the patterns I'm seeing, and trying to figure out, okay, would that translate well against Virgil Ortiz? Would that translate well against Boachuk and these other guys? And to me, it wasn't gonna ever translate. And he didn't even get to that level. Like, he didn't even get to the level where he could fight those guys. He fell one step short of that against Baraou. So listen, I don't wish bad on him. I hope he can come back and regroup and do his thing. But he's got a lot of work to do. A lot, because there was a lot of holes in that defense that got exploited. I'm kind of ready for Canelo and Crawford to just happen and be over with. Me too, man, because both fan bases are annoying as hell. Like, Crawford fanboys are very annoying. Canelo fanboys are very annoying. And, I'm a little more intrigued about it now. I will say, like, I am more intrigued about it now because I feel like with Boots sparring Canelo and now the whole Canelo-Crawford storyline has come back into play before this fight. Like, that's made it more interesting. And I actually do think both guys are taking this fight serious. But let's be real, guys. It's a 38-year-old versus 37-year-old. And there's a big chance that both these guys actually get old overnight in the same fight. Have any of you guys contemplated that Canelo and Crawford could both get old overnight in the same fight and give us like one of the most disappointing fights of recent memory. You know, that's possible. As far as like the fan base is like, I listen. I'm probably gonna pick Canelo to win this fight, and if he wins this fight, I'm not giving him any credit if he wins this fight, because you're fighting a welterweight. You're fighting a guy who literally is not even that good of a 54-pounder. Okay, you're fighting a guy that never really even established himself as one of the true elites of 154. So that's not really impressive to me. It would be impressive to me if he beat Gabe Benavidez, you know, someone like that. But you know, I'm the angry hardcore guy. I guess I'm the guy who's, you know, for most people, this fight is the end all be all. Like, the winner of this fight is the best. Like, now, okay, if Crawford wins, obviously, you're basically a 47-pounder coming up to 168. So if he wins, for him, it does a lot more. But see, I'm really not looking like, if Crawford does win, you know, I'd be happy for him, because I'm a big Terrence Crawford fan. But I'm not ready to hear these ridiculous conversations that are about to happen of like, oh, is Terrence Crawford better than Floyd? Like, bro, stop. Bro, Terrence Crawford is not close to Floyd. Stop, please. Like if he beats Canelo Alvarez, he's gonna do what Floyd already did a gajillion years ago. Like, and he beat Canelo when Canelo was actually young and strong, and in my opinion, not like in his prime, in his physical prime at least. Maybe not his mental prime as a boxer, but his physical prime as a fighter. He was that when Floyd fought him. He had already beaten guys like Trout and these kind of guys, and Floyd schooled him. Floyd is the best boxer I've seen in my lifetime, and I know people don't like hearing that, because, well, Floyd destroyed the sport. You know, these guys are all punks and divas because of Floyd. That's not true. They're all men. They all have their own set of functioning balls. They can be themselves. They can be themselves and move with what they want to do. They don't gotta follow what Floyd did. So if they're trying to be like another man, then what it shows is that they don't have enough masculinity to be them damn selves and actually do what they feel is best for their own career. They gotta go mimic another man, and you can't mimic him because you're not as good as him. So the annoying part of it is, like, if Crawford wins, people are going to start to ask if Crawford is better than Floyd, because he'll be on paper at least 3-time undisputed. Floyd was never 1-time undisputed. But come on, guys, we watch the fights. Like, if you watch the fights, it should not be. And I'm not saying Terrence Crawford isn't great, because he is great, but like, it should not be a discussion. In my opinion, it really shouldn't be a discussion. I think in this weight bully era, Crawford could compete at 160 if he wanted to. It's not that impressive to fight a 5'7" guy. That should be. Terrence is damn near bigger than Canelo. Like, Terrence is big. Terrence is not as small as people want to make him out to be. In fact, like, I was watching. I did a video about Canelo fighting Crawford in 2016, and I was saying that Terrence Crawford looks bigger than Canelo back in 2016, because there was a picture at the WBO convention from that year where they were standing near each other, and they looked damn near the same size. So Terrence might look bigger. Can you believe that Rollies is the champion off of 147 versus Ryan, who was at 147 for his first fight? Of course I can, because they fought for the WBA title, and it's the WBA. I mean, the WBA, they're the most shady probably out of the whole sanctioning bodies. If you want to keep it all the way honest and all the way a spade. I've been to the WBA convention, so I can speak from experience. Like, they're all shady. They all have their things about them. But, man, the WBA, they be on some real grade A level bullshit. Like, Crawford was the bigger man on Fight Night versus Spence and Madrimov. Yeah, he's a big fighter, man. He's big. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't like people talking about, oh, is he better than Floyd? Yo, Floyd was beating dudes he was fighting close to his walk around weight and just shutting dudes out, beating them easily. Like, it's actually laughable to me to even compare Crawford to Floyd. Best looking belt, the WBA looks super cool for me. It's funny because the WBA belt is probably the one that I think looks the least cool. But the coolest, in chronological order, the coolest belts to me are the IBF, the red belt, because it's very cool. WBC, the WBA, and I can say that the WBO looks the least cool, because it's like this beigeish color. I don't like the way it looks. I like the IBF and WBC to me are the two coolest looking belts because with the IBF belt, when you get close to it, they have these red diamonds that shine bright. Like you wouldn't understand how shiny those red diamonds are on the belt. Speaking of Christopher Diaz, he went 12 with Navarrete before getting stopped. So I see Nunez not being able to stop him, but I really wish Nunez had fought someone else. Is that who he's fighting? No, he's fighting Pitufo? Because I know he's fighting soon. He's fighting Pitufo Diaz? Or the remains of Pitufo Diaz? That's crazy. Let me see. Yeah, he's fighting. Oh my God, he's fighting. That's crazy. Like I knew he was fighting. I knew he was fighting. I knew he had his homecoming in Mexico, but I didn't. I kind of just like glanced over the opponent. I didn't pay no attention. That's crazy. That's terrible. But hey, I mean, it's a homecoming fight. It's a voluntary defense. So normally when you're fighting a voluntary defense in your hometown, you're gonna get a layup. He just went to Japan to beat Masanori Rikishi. So I'm sure after this fight, as long as he does what he's supposed to do and beat Diaz, he'll get those big fights, potentially probably against Raymond Ford. But yeah, that's not a good one. The old ring belt was cool. The new ring looks like a cheap plaque. Yeah. As far as belts are concerned, yeah, the old ring was the coolest. New ring is but the IBF and WBC to me are the best looking belts in boxing by far. Not even close. Not even remotely a discussion. The old IBF with the eagle was the coolest. Yeah, I've seen that one. They don't put the little like eagle thing on the top no more. Because I remember when Jason Rosario won the IBF title, I went to go interview him one day in Miami, and it had the eagle thing on the top of it. It was pretty cool. So, does anyone know anything about the guy Valdez is fighting? Oh shit! I sometimes, man, I forget some of these fights are even happening because I'm getting older now. My memory's going bad. I'm forgetting names. I'm forgetting all kinds of stuff. He's fighting who? Who is he even fighting? He's fighting Richard Medina, 16-3. Who the hell is Richard Medina? This guy. Medina is from Texas. Who did he fight? I feel like I've seen this guy fight. Oh yeah, I've seen this guy fight. He fought on the He fought. I think it was the Canelo. He fought on the Canelo card. He fought on the Canelo card last year against Jonathan Lopez. I was there. Oh, he ain't that good. If Valdez loses to him, he like Valdez, in my opinion, should already be retired probably because he's taking a lot of punishment. But like if he can't beat this guy, he really needs to retire. Like this guy, I watched him fight last year. He wasn't anything to write home about. Will Jaron Ennis be sent home for beating Canelo's ass every day? I don't know, man. I've heard some things about that sparring, and it ain't what a lot of people think it is. But I'll keep that to myself. But I don't know. Listen, it's all rumors. Maybe he beat Canelo's ass. Maybe Canelo beat his ass. I don't know, but I've heard it wasn't like that. Edwin Chopper Rosario before the cartel. That guy had a name. Yeah, he did have a name. He remember when he fought Chavez. That was a good fight. Yeah, he should stop him. I watched that guy fight Jonathan Lopez last year. Jonathan Lopez just kept him at bay, outboxed him. That guy didn't have nothing with him. No feet. BT, are you still living in Dania Beach, Florida? I haven't lived in Dania Beach, Florida in 6 years. I don't even listen. I'm not gonna tell you where I live, but I don't live in Florida anymore. That I can say. Oscar Valdez is gonna definitely let the sport retire him. He's been beat up a ton in the past 5 years. I actually had a conversation with Oscar Valdez in the hotel lobby the night before Angelo versus Venado Lopez, and he told me that, and there was a lot of discussions in the background with the Top Rank staff that they wanted to do a fight with him and Venado Lopez. So shit, if he wins his next fight, and I guess if Venado wins his next fight, I still don't think that fight might still be on the table. You might still get, because think about it. If when I say it out loud, when I say Oscar Valdez versus Venado Lopez, that just sounds top rank. That sounds like a top rank fight. That sounds like some shit. That sounds like some shit they would do. So we'll see. He said, "If you call Japan home, you're officially my new role model." No, well, it's my second home. I'm still in America. I'm not in Japan right now. If I was in Japan, you know I was in Japan. I'm not in Japan right now. I'm in America. But I'm not gonna tell y'all where I'm at. But I am traveling. I am traveling on Tuesday morning, so I'll tell you guys where I'm at on Tuesday morning. But when I'm in these confines, you guys don't need to know where I live now. I think the issue with Valdez is he's too small for 130, but I always liked what he brought to the table. A very entertaining fighter. Yeah, very entertaining fighter. All action fighter. Someone that always gives his best. I was there when he fought Liam Wilson last year. How do you see Mason versus Noakes playing out? Oof. I really feel like it's actually one of the more interesting fights in boxing because Noakes is not like one of these finesse textbook robotic British fighters. Like, no, this dude's really punching like that. This dude got real pop. And Mason, Mason can box, but Mason likes to get stuck in. He likes to have wars. He likes to, he has this apex predator mentality. He wants to knock you out. He wants to get you out of it. He wants to butcher you. So my thing is, this could go either way. I feel like this fight could actually be very similar to the Johan Vasquez fight, where you might see Mason get clipped and dropped, but have to get up off the canvas and, show something. The only difference is I think Noakes is a higher fighter, a higher level fighter than Vasquez, and I think he punches harder than him. So I think in this fight, this might be the fight where we see Mason do a little bit more boxing, and pick his spots a bit more because Noakes does have respectable power, but it's a good fight. I would say my prediction for the fight right now, I'm gonna go with Abdullah Mason to win the world title by decision. Yeah, I'm gonna go with decision. I didn't realize how stacked the Benavidez yard card is. A lot of good fights on there. Yeah, I mean, you got Bam is fighting Puma in the unification fight. You got the real main event is Norman versus Haney. I think that's the fight that's got people talking. That's the fight that's got everybody's opinion split. That's the real main event. That's the fight they should actually put as the main event because it really is the main event. It's the fight that's going to carry the whole promotion, honestly. But yeah, a lot of good fights. A lot of things to look out for. Benavidez versus Yard's a good fight. Yard ain't no punk. He's going to go in there. He's going to give it his best. So, but it's so long. I mean, I can't recall a fight card of this magnitude being so far out because they announced this fight card like 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, maybe even longer, and we're still like 3 months away from that card. So a lot can go wrong. It's very possible that like 2 of them fights could get scrapped because fighters overtrain in camp, or maybe some of these guys are on steroids and they don't cycle off in time. There's all kinds of negative things that could happen. We'll see. What are my thoughts on Dalton Smith? Good fighter. I mean, I got to watch more of him. I saw when he fought Zepeda. But again, he's another British fighter. Like, he's not a textbook finesse, robotic British fighter. Like, no, Dalton Smith can punch. Dalton Smith is a dangerous opponent for Subriel Matias, and I'm looking forward to their fight. I think Matias is going to test him because Matias tests everyone. And unlike Liam Parr, because Liam Parr was a fighter that had the mental discipline to not exchange, to throw his little combinations and turn Matias and just keep things very simple, albeit a bit, not exciting, but just very simple. I don't think Dalton Smith is that kind of fighter. I feel like Dalton Smith is a guy that likes to exchange, likes to be in fights, likes to do those things. So I think that's where it's going to be really a tough assignment for him, All right, guys, we got 10 more minutes left. I got 10 more minutes, and then I'm gonna end the live because I'm making it even 2 hours today. But we're here. It's your boy BT, True School After Dark. Listen, boxing is slow right now. it was an absolute challenge to find 4 or 5 things to talk about in boxing. So much so to the point where I had to wish James Toney a happy birthday. That was one of the storylines. That was one of the talking points. One of the talking points was happy birthday, James Toney. So that tells you how slow we are in boxing right now. Is Shakur and Keyshawn done with 135? Who are your top 3 in the division at 135? At 135. Well, if he wins, I'll say Mason. Mace will be in there. Cruz, Andy Cruz, and then probably three can be a toss-up between William Zepeda and Floyd Schofield. I'll say they're tied. You know, yeah, that. I didn't actually block you, Hyra. I was talking shit. I didn't block you. Because you tried my South Florida card. You're not allowed to try my South Florida card. I am aware that Murat Garcia fought Jeremiah Milton. The reason I didn't talk about it is because I didn't want to talk about it. I was low on energy today. I only had enough energy for one video on this live, and I didn't want to talk about Murat Garcia knocking out a heavyweight that was never really that good in Jeremiah Milton, a guy that was so bad that Top Rank cut him while he was, I'm pretty sure he was undefeated when they cut him. Which I'm gonna tell you guys this, and I'm not trying to like talk down on him. I'm just telling you guys like if I'm not mistaken, Milton might have been a late starter in boxing, so it's expected. He's not an otherworldly talent or anything like that. But like Top Rank don't. If you're undefeated, Top Rank does not cut guys that they believe in when they're undefeated. You got to really be a fighter who's not performing, and not showing anything in your fights. If Top Rank cuts you while you're undefeated, I've only ever seen Berlanga, and Milton get cut by Top Rank being undefeated. So it doesn't happen. BT, can you explain to me how a guy like Charlo, who's been out of the ring for a year and a half, deserves a title shot? He doesn't deserve a title shot, so I can't explain that to you. But apparently, he was declared the WBA champion in recess, which basically means because when he fought Canelo, he had the belts. So I guess he was able to retain his champion in recess status even after not fighting at 154 for all these years now. And they're gonna allow him to fight for the title when he fights Abbas Baraou. So I think it's bullshit. I think Jermell Charlo doesn't deserve it. I feel like Jermell Charlo should fight Boots. I feel like if Boots beats Lima as he's expected to, he should fight Boots. And then look, Boots would get a chance, and Charlo would get a chance to be in a big fight before fighting for the title. So that'd be great. Let Abbas Baraou defend the belt, get a voluntary. Can we talk about the Raja Jackson situation? I don't know anything about that, so you got to put me on game. Sanctioning bodies should eliminate that bullshit champion in recess. It's hurting the sport. I mean, I think it's necessary if you have a legitimate world champion who gets injured in a fight and can't make his world title defense in an appropriate amount of time. So I think there is a place for it, but after a certain amount of time, a fighter has to lose his status as champion in recess. It's bullshit. Oh, I mean, I saw some clips. I don't really have an opinion on it. I don't really care, to be honest with you. I mean, I saw he body slammed the guy and he punched him a bunch of times in the face, and that was it. Other than that, I don't have no opinion on it. You don't have to have an opinion on everything. Like, I seen it. I mean, it was a moment, but what do you want me to say? It's not box related. I mind the business that pays me, and that concerns me. That don't really concern me. So I saw it on Twitter and I just kept scrolling. But I hope that wrestler that got beat the fuck up, I hope he's okay. I hope that he gets the good health and all that stuff. Who do I got with Adame or Brandon Adams and Sergey Volchuk? I think the Virgil Ortiz fight took something out of Volchuk, even though he might even have deserved to win. That's a good question, man. I don't know. I feel like Volchuk's gonna be up for the fight. So, but I feel like Adams is gonna be extra up for the fight because he got, in many people's estimations, robbed in the whatchamacallit, in the fight against Andre Katsarakis in the overtime tournament. So they both have a lot to fight for. So I actually think the rematch is going to be a very good fight. Fuck, it's tough. It's a tough fight to pick. I don't have. I would say right now I'm leaning towards Boachuk. Very, very slightly, but like I'm not confident in my pick, so I don't know. I might change it to Brandon Adams, but right now I'm not really entirely sure. But I'm gonna say Boachuk. If you have a chance to attend a Rising event, will you consider going? I was supposed to go to a Rising event because I'm actually friends with somebody that works for Rising. I have a really good friend who's very, very high up at Rising, and he invited me to come cover the Ryan Garcia Ampo fight, and I was in Japan when that happened. But Golden Wood Promotions kind of ruined that, so I didn't get a chance to watch Ryan. If Ryan Garcia would have fought Ampo, I would have been there for that exhibition because I actually wanted to go. But yeah, I mean, at some point, if I'm in Japan again, which I'm gonna be, not if, when I'm in Japan again, if they have a Rising event and there's not anything else going on, sure, why not? Why not check out something new and experience, something different. I know Rising's very big over there. And I think, I don't know, man. Who knows? With the way my life is structured and the way this year's going, I might be back in Japan by the end of the year. Because I'm going somewhere. I'm going somewhere on Tuesday morning. I can't wait. I can't wait to tell you guys where I'm at on Tuesday. BT, do you think Super Matias might move to 147 or 154 because he's looking way too big for 140 pounds? Yeah, his body naturally is gonna force him up there. If he doesn't move up there, his body's gonna force him up there. So, yeah, I think at some point, yeah, and there's big time lucrative paydays up there for him. So why not? Have I ever met Max Kellerman? No, I've never met Max Kellerman. I've met Jim Lampley. I met Ariel Hawani once. They met me. How about that? They met me? I didn't meet them. They met me. In Vegas, is there a time for officials to reverse a no knockdown call like early in the Boachuk? Well, they did in that particular fight. They actually reversed the call because if I'm not mistaken, one of the knockdowns they called a no knockdown, and they went to replay, and then they later ruled it a knockdown. So they do have replay in Vegas, yes. We see Adam, when they announced that, I thought Matias was facing Dalton Smith. Well, they haven't announced anything. I mean, Turkey said he was fighting Dalton Smith, but there hasn't really been a formal announcement yet, so it's just all hearsay. Puello had a rematch clause. Alberto Puello had a rematch clause for that fight, and he got screwed, or they told him to wait. Did you give Ariel your autograph? No, he didn't have enough money for my autograph. I told him, I said, hey man, my autograph costs more than $15, champ. You gotta really pay up if you want the untouchable. Listen, that's why I'm carrying this pen, because I'm practicing my autograph. If you want the untouchable to autograph your Conor McGregor, Dana White, UFC soap dispenser, it's gonna cost you. But yeah, I've met, over the years, I've met a lot of intriguing people, and this trip, this voyage I'm about to go on, starting on Tuesday, it sounds like I'm about to meet a whole lot of people I've never met before, because I'm going to a part of America I've never ever been before. So that's really intriguing. I can't wait. Who are my 3 favorite trainers to interview? Great question. Stacey McKinley, Miguel Leo, and who else have I interviewed? Stacey McKinley, Miguel Leo. There was a guy I used to interview years ago, Jesse Robinson. We'll say Stacey McKinley, Miguel Leo, Jesse Robinson. I liked my interviews with Paul Andrade back in the day. There's a lot of great trainers to interview, but I would say Stacey McKinley is number 1 by far. Like those interviews, I learn something new every time I talk to him, and he's got a very unique way of expressing himself. But guys, look, on that note, I'm gonna get up on out of here because we're about to hit the 2-hour mark in about 20 seconds. So look, before I end the live, Thank you guys for tuning in. You know, I was live a bit later today. Later on today, I was live later than I normally am. That being said, listen, appreciate all the support. Appreciate all the just the support over the months and over the last couple lives, and it's been good to develop some nice consistency because I feel like it's always been hard for me to get consistency with these lives. But yeah, man, there will be a live tomorrow, and then there probably won't be any live on Tuesday because I gotta travel on Tuesday. But so if there's no live on Tuesday, expect one on Wednesday. But guys, take care. Keep supporting the content. Plenty of videos on the way here on True School Sports. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me. But I'm just a kid from Dang It. So until next time, take care, guys.